Have you ever wondered how crucial the protection and prosperity of your family is? In the grand tapestry of life, these two threads, protection and prosperity, interweave to create a design of peace, fulfillment, and joy. Imagine a tree, deeply rooted, standing tall and strong against the storms of life. This tree symbolizes a family protected, a family that stands unyielding in the face of adversity. Protection here is not just about physical safety, but also emotional stability and spiritual fortitude. It encompasses the shield we build around our loved ones, a shield made of love, trust, and faith. A shield that not only guards against external threats, but also bolsters the inner strength of each family member. Now picture a river flowing freely, nourishing everything in its path. This is the river of prosperity. Prosperity is not just about financial wealth. It's about an abundance of love, health, happiness, and peace. It's about living a life of purpose, a life where every family member thrives and flourishes. Both protection and prosperity are essential for a fulfilling and peaceful family life. But how do we attain them? How do we ensure that our families are shielded from harm and blessed with abundance? The answer lies in a timeless source of wisdom and power, Psalm 91. Psalm 91 is more than just a collection of verses. It's a prayer, a declaration, a divine promise. It speaks of God's protection. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. It promises prosperity. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Through this psalm, we can invoke divine protection and prosperity for our families. We can draw from its deep well of faith and hope and pour these blessings into our family life. Today we delve into Psalm 91, a powerful prayer for protection and prosperity for our families. In the following scenes, we'll explore each verse, understanding its meaning, and learning how to apply it in our lives. So let's journey together. Let's seek the divine protection and prosperity promised in Psalm 91 for our families. Scene script. Psalm 91 starts with, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty." This verse is a powerful reminder of the divine protection that is available to us when we choose to dwell, or make our home, in the shelter of the Most High. What does it mean to dwell in the shelter of the Most High? Well, it's about more than just physical location. It's about where we place our hearts, our minds, our trust. When we dwell in the shelter of the Most High, we are choosing to live in a place of faith. We are deciding to trust in God's promises, to lean on His understanding, and to seek His guidance in all things. We are choosing to anchor ourselves in a place of divine protection, where we can rest assured that we are covered by His grace and mercy. And when we do this, the verse promises that we will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Just think about that for a moment. The shadow of the Almighty. That's a place of coolness and comfort, a place where we are shielded from the harsh rays of life's challenges. It's a place of peace and tranquility, where we are enveloped in the Almighty's protective care. The verse continues with a declaration of trust. "I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust." This is a powerful affirmation that reinforces our trust in God. It's a statement of faith, a declaration that God is our safe haven and our shield. When we declare this, we are not only affirming our trust in God, but we are also acknowledging His role as our protector. We are recognizing that He is our fortress, a place of safety and security where we can take refuge from the storms of life. In these verses, we see the significance of dwelling in God's presence and trusting in His protection. They remind us of the peace that comes from trusting in God and the security that comes from dwelling in His presence. They encourage us to declare our trust in God and to seek His protection for our families. Scene script. Verse 3 and 4 read, "Surely He will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge." These verses from Psalm 91 hold a powerful promise of protection. They are not just words, but an assurance of safety and security. Let's delve a bit deeper into what they signify. The fowler's snare is a metaphorical representation of the hidden dangers and threats that lurk in our lives. This could be anything from physical harm to emotional distress, or even spiritual turmoil. The verse assures us that God will save us from these snares, these unseen hazards. The mention of deadly pestilence, on the other hand, symbolizes the widespread diseases and calamities that can befall us. In today's context, it could even signify the global pandemic that has affected so many. Yet the verse assures us that God's protection extends to these large-scale threats as well. Now let's look at the second part of this promise. The imagery used here is one of a bird shielding its young under its wings. It's a comforting, nurturing picture that illustrates how God's protection works. It's not a distant, detached safeguarding, but a close, personal, and intimate one. He covers us with his feathers, providing a soft, warm, and secure refuge. This promise of divine protection is not a passive one. It's an active, encompassing shield that God provides, protecting us from all sides, from all dangers, both seen and unseen. It's a promise that no matter the circumstances, his protection is unyielding and omnipresent. In the grand scheme of things, these verses offer us a beautiful reassurance. In our journey through life, with all its ups and downs, trials and tribulations, we are not alone. We have a divine protector, an unshakable refuge, a constant source of security. Through these verses, we are reminded of God's unwavering protection over us. In verses 5 to 8, it says, "You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day." This passage beautifully captures the essence of divine protection, a promise that rings true for each of us and our families. To truly understand the depth of this promise, let's delve into the meaning behind these inspiring verses. The terror of night symbolizes the fears and uncertainties that often creep into our minds when the world around us is cloaked in darkness. It's those sleepless nights filled with worry about the future, about our loved ones, about our financial stability. Yet this verse reminds us that we have no need to fear these night terrors because we are under the divine protection of a loving God. Similarly, the arrow that flies by day represents the visible dangers we face in our everyday lives. It could be challenges at work, conflicts within the family, or health problems. But once again, the promise in these verses is clear. We don't need to be afraid of these daily threats because God's protection envelops us, acting as a shield against all harm. The assurance of protection in these verses isn't limited to specific times or certain types of dangers. It's an all-encompassing promise. Whether it's day or night, whether the threat is visible or hidden, we can rest easy knowing that we are safeguarded by God's omnipotent hand. This promise of divine protection brings with it an invaluable gift, peace of mind. When we trust in God, we can let go of our worries and fears. We can breathe easier, sleep better, and live our lives with a sense of calm and assurance. This tranquility doesn't come from the absence of danger, but from the presence of God in our lives and in our families. In conclusion, verses 5 to 8 of Psalm 91 beautifully articulate the promise of God's protection over us and our families. The message is resounding. We have no reason to fear because we are under the divine protection of a loving God. These verses assure us that we are protected, regardless of the time or nature of threats we may face. The psalm concludes with verses 9 to 16. "If you say, 'The Lord is my refuge,' and you make the Most High your dwelling." This declaration is not just a casual statement, but a profound commitment that carries deep implications. These verses lay out two significant conditions. The first is acknowledging the Lord as your refuge, your place of safety, your sanctuary. It is a conscious choice to seek protection in the shelter of the Most High, trusting Him above all else. The second condition is making the Most High your dwelling. This means living a life centered on God, where every action, every decision, every thought is guided by His word and His will. The promises attached to these conditions are incredibly reassuring. They speak of divine protection, deliverance from deadly pestilence, and the covering of God's faithfulness. The psalmist paints a vivid picture of God's protective care, like a bird shielding its young under its wings. Verse 14 underscores the intimate relationship between God and those who love Him. It says, "Because He loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue him, I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name." This verse emphasizes that God's protection is not arbitrary, but a direct response to our love for Him and our acknowledgement of His name, and the promises don't stop there. The psalmist further declares, "With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation." A long life, satisfaction, and salvation are the divine rewards for those who make God their refuge. It's important to note that these aren't just empty promises. They are assurances from the Creator of the universe, the one who holds all power and authority. They are promises that can be trusted, relied upon, and clung to in times of uncertainty and fear. With this, we see the power of declaring God as our refuge and the promises attached to it. Now that we have unpacked Psalm 91, it's time to use it as a prayer over our families. Just imagine, with each word and phrase of Psalm 91, you're covering your family with a divine shield of protection and prosperity. You're not merely reciting verses, you're declaring promises, invoking divine intervention. This is the power of prayer. It's a divine dialogue that transcends human limitations, reaching into the heavenly realms. As you pray Psalm 91, see it as a spiritual armor placed around your family. Envision the protection it offers, the prosperity it brings, and the long life it promises. Each verse is a promise, a divine assurance that your family is safe, prosperous, and blessed. Remember, prayer is more than words. It's faith in action. It's believing in the unseen, trusting in the divine, and standing on the promises of God. Remember, as you pray this psalm over your family, you are declaring protection, prosperity, and long life over them. Keep praying, keep believing.